Hello, I'm Fred Evans. Welcome to Montgomery Week in Review. The Maryland legislature is in session, and the Rural Maryland Council has an important agenda for 2018. Charlotte Davis, the executive director of RMC, has the details. The annual upcoming point of the homeless count takes place in January as an important number to the county. Jennifer Grinnell, the director of Adult and Community Services for Every Mind, will explain. 3 Rotary clubs from around the world are cooperating on a project in India to bring clean and dependable water to villages there. Dr. Bruce Fowler from the North Bethesda Rotary Club and a toxicologist has the story of this important project. Nourish Now is focused on alleviating food insecurity in Montgomery County by reducing food waste. Brett Meyers, the executive director and the founder of Nourish Now, will tell us all about it. Welcome.
Thank you.
Charlotte, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Tell us about RMC.
So we are an independent state agency. I'm located in the Maryland Department of Agriculture, and I'm funded through the state's operating budget. Our mission is we bring together federal, state, local, elected, appointed officials, private stakeholders, and we identify the challenges in rural Maryland. We also develop solutions and I implement them. So I have 2 grant programs that are funded through the state's budget. One's called the Rural Maryland Prosperity Investment Fund, and the other one's called the Maryland Agricultural Education and Rural Development Assistance Fund. And this goes to build capacity for rural serving nonprofits, but then we also look at things like entrepreneurship, infrastructure, and healthcare.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a question.
Sure.
We don't have any rural communities in Montgomery County.
Montgomery County is 30% rural with the Ag Reserve. So you've got some significant farm and community here.
Where's the biggest part of like rural Maryland? Is there a certain section that's...
Yeah, so the Eastern Shore, all of the counties on the Eastern Shore is considered rural. It's predominantly poultry and agriculture, grain and soybeans. Western Maryland, so Carroll, Frederick, Washington, Allegheny, and Garrett, they're mainly resource-based, formerly coal mining, but, some forestry. And then Southern Maryland, so the 3 counties in south of Annapolis, Anne Arundel, and Prince George's. And so we try to look at the common denominators amongst all those. They have 3 different economies, and we've got the highest unemployment rates, percentages, highest poverty rates
in those rural
areas.
Interesting.
And so we administer these grant programs, but then this past session I've been chairing a task force on rural broadband. So we estimate about 15% of the state, 20% of the state residents lack access to high-speed internet.
Interesting.
So and some of these, I hear from residents in Montgomery County, there are about 2,800 homes that are currently unserved with high speed. Most everybody gets it. Yeah. And it's important for our economy.
Of the problems you've enumerated, which would you say is the greatest one? Which should get the highest priority?
Right now it's unemployment. Jobs. We are seeing population loss in our far areas. Garrett, Somerset counties are losing population because we are urbanizing.
Yep.
So all the population is moving to Montgomery County.
Oh, good.
Prince George's County.
And they drive too.
Yeah, and so we're trying to figure out ways. And we ask residents, why are you leaving? We ask young people, why do you leave your community? And everybody says it's economic opportunity. Yeah. So we're looking at ways. And also the rural economy is predominantly agriculture and tourism based. So the agriculture is under a lot of stress. It's under a lot of stress. We got a lot of development pressure because of our growing population in the state. And then that viability. We've got a lot of regulations, and we can talk about India and the environmental regulations because we see...
What environmental regulations?
Exactly. So I never complain about environmental regulations in this state after that experience. But, so and then the tourism is great, but they're low-paying jobs, and so that's why we were looking at broadband.
Seasonal, right? Like
yeah,
it kind of comes and goes with tourism. So
right, because the unemployment in Worcester County right now is probably 15%.
Wow.
Yeah,
15.
15. Those are people unemployed.
And that changes during the year?
It changes. Well, in the summer we'll go up, and actually in the summer we import workers into Ocean City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we have farm labor we bring in too, and
You're just
watermen.
talking 4 months, right?
Yep,
4 or 5 months.
just for a couple months. So that's the main challenge, but then broadband, because we figure if we can't get them to the job, we can bring the job to them.
Sure.
Plus, we see for every build out we do, we see a 1% increase in the economy because people, if they can find better jobs, they can increase their skills. So
And if they could work
Pay taxes.
online,
Yes.
right? This is great, but if
Right.
you can't get the broadband
Right.
there,
you need high speed because
Right, to be
everybody
able to
can
do
get
that.
it with their cell phone and
right.
satellite, but that is
but not if you're trying to work
right.
like on your cell phone.
And if you're trying
Right.
to do a merchant, if you're trying to sell, you
Sure.
need those
Yeah.
transactions,
Yeah.
just uploads. So
Right.
downloads, that's pretty good. People can stream. Everybody can stream Netflix, but if you're doing multiple transactions.
That's incredible. What do you see as in the next, if you can project the next 10 years as some of the biggest challenges? Is it still employment and technology?
It's probably going to be employment. Just figuring out what is the rural economy. There is we have an opportunity with renewable energy. We've had a lot of challenges. Now we've got a lot of opposition for the offshore wind that's off of
Oh,
Ocean
right.
City. We've seen a lot of complaints and pushback with the solar arrays that are coming. So what does the 21st century rural economy look like? Given that we have all this pressure on agriculture, big question on poultry. Do we? There's a lot of concern in Montgomery County about how we grow the chickens. But I like to remind everybody, y'all like to eat chicken, and
Sure.
those chickens are coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct.
The more we push on chicken, the more it's going to push off of the shore, and it's going to go south, or it's going to go out of country. I've heard models where they would grow the chickens here, we'd ship them to China to be processed, and then we'd ship them back.
Wow.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of
Seems
sense.
like
That doesn't even
expensive.
make any sense.
Yeah, so and then there's a lot of support industry. So all the grain and soybeans on the shore goes to chicken feed. So if chicken goes, corn, soybean goes, then all these ancillary. So then you got 500,000 people with no job.
With no jobs.
So what do we do to
On
plan
that-
for the future?
Unpleasant note. No, but thank you very much for that information. It's very enlightening, and appreciate
happy
it.
to be here.
And I'm sure we'll have you back to talk more. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Good that you're here. Tell us about another topic that I
Very
think
enlightening, very happy topic.
stays under the radar screen.
Yeah.
Is homelessness in Montgomery County.
Yep.
Tell us what the Every Mind organization or your organization is
Yeah.
doing.
So Every Mind, which is formerly the Mental Health Association
Right.
of Montgomery County, our tagline is Your Mental Wellness, Our Mission. We do adult and community services, which is the program that I oversee. We also do youth and family, and we also have a military component. And
Right.
of course, we do crisis intervention and prevention. We run the Montgomery County Hotline.
Oh, okay.
But today, I'd like to talk about some of the homeless outreach services that we do, and we are participating and looking for volunteers for the annual Point in Time count. So this will be done next Wednesday, January 24th. And anyone can come and volunteer, and this is following HUD's guidelines. So every county does it during the last week in January, and the goal is we'll be out on the streets from like 11 p.m. overnight until 4 a.m. In teams, and our goal really is to get a physical count of the homeless individuals that are living in Montgomery County. Because they are out there and they are sleeping on the streets. And we'll also do a count for individuals that are in shelters, not in permanent homes, because there's different forms, but that are in shelters. We'll also get a count of those individuals also. And then that gives the county, and then that goes up to the state and then federal to give really a sense of what our country's looking at by county in terms of our homeless individuals.
How will you count people who are couch surfing or otherwise, kind of hidden?
Yeah, so during the point in time on that, and that's a great question, we really won't be able to count them. But on a day-to-day basis, we have 3 full-time case managers who do street outreach. And we are able to connect that way because they're not always on the couch. So if they're outside or they're in kind of encampment, if you've ever heard, that term where there really
Right.
are kind of a group of people that have kind of set up maybe tents in an area that are living there.
Sure.
We do get to engage that way and kind of get a sense of who's couch surfing, and then we can help them also with some case management services. So our goal kind of on a day-to-day basis is to get people into some permanent housing. The county has a huge continuum of care. It's made of the county, multiple providers. There's tons of people that are part of this really effort. And the county has a goal to end chronic homelessness in Montgomery County by March 31st of 2018.
Like the veteran homelessness.
Exactly. And then our goal would be to keep it at the, it's called like zero, I've forgotten, I'm sorry what the actual, I'll remember it in just a second.
Gotcha.
Where you can only have maybe 2 or 3 people that are homeless, like for our veterans, and then you get them housed right away.
Okay.
Functional zero, that's what it's called. So would be the chronic homelessness, and then the county has kind of the next steps, which would be youth. There's a lot of youth that are homeless that we
Right.
don't know about, and that's because they're staying on with families, right? They're staying with their friends, they're staying with the coach knows somebody, they're staying here, but it's more than we think actually.
Is that hard to get that data?
It is very difficult to get that, and there is a task force that'll really just be focusing on the youth. And our goal, really, with the point in time, is adults. These are single adults, because there are also, the county looks at families that are homeless, because that's an issue also. But on the 24th next week, we'll do actually really just the adults. And then just so kind of people know a little bit more about what we do, like during this Arctic blast that we had, and even just last night when the temperatures dropped, our goal as an organization and our street outreach team, we went out 5 nights in a row from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then again from 4:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. and that was the intent, was to get people sheltered. So we had cab services that worked with us that came and picked them up and took them to shelters, and all the shelters stayed open to accept people.
Would
to
you
get
help
do?
them get into services?
We do,
Okay.
yes. Because that's the thing, even if you get them in sheltered that night, then what happens, right? So our goal was, if when we encountered some of the individuals, 1, to get them into the shelter, and then 2, are you connected with services? Because if you're not, then we're going to connect to either us or there are other providers.
What's the fidelity of your sampling system? How many people are you capturing? Do you do every street in Montgomery County, or?
So we don't do every street in Montgomery County. So what happens is all of the providers that do street outreach kind of create hotspots. We know where people
Right.
are, and then maps are created. So on the 24th, when we go out, people will go out in teams. There's a Rockville kind of group, and then there'll be a Silver Spring. So even though we'll cover the entire county, the 2 areas that see the highest population of homeless individuals is Rockville and Silver Spring. So then we kind of start there, and then it's, there's like a radius. And so this comes from constituents who call in and say they've seen something, community members who say like, hey, I saw somebody here. This has all come together.
You've got about 30 seconds.
Okay.
And my last question
Yeah.
is, do you think we'll be able to accomplish the goal by 2018?
I do. I think the county has made this their top priority. They've given extra funding to it. It is, and everybody, all of the providers are doing the same goal. Absolutely.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, it is definitely good news.
We have to take a break. We'll be right back. Thank you. And we're back. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we moved from Montgomery County to India.
Yes.
Tell us about your with the Rotary, correct?
Okay. Yes. I'm the past president of the North Bethesda Rotary Club, and we have written a grant to something called Rotary International, which is the umbrella organization of Rotary, with 2 other clubs, one in Pune, India, and the other in Auckland, New Zealand, to provide safe drinking water, irrigation water in what's called the Border Tribal Belt of Maharashtra state in India. And this is an area that's a very rural area that's, I think it's about 120 miles inland from Mumbai. But basically these are farmers and people living in little villages who have been having trouble making it, I'll say it like that, because they can't regulate or control the water or the quality of the water. So the grant is to do 2 things. One is to help them with, it's not brick and mortar, it's more like rocks and mud, and education, how to maintain water control systems in their area so that they have a sustainable water supply that's of good quality year-round. So we, with our colleagues in these other 2 clubs, have written up a proposal and got it funded, and we just got it. So it's going to be starting this year. And we're hopeful that with this, these villagers will be able to become self-sustaining and grow crops. And as the saying goes, no one came out of poverty on an empty stomach. So,
About how many people, like in the villages or in the town, are suffering from this water
it's
epidemic?
probably in the hundreds of thousands, I think.
Wow.
These are very large rural areas, and again, it comes down to it's very informal. They're villages.
And we're not talking about water faucets that they have. We're talking
No, we're talking
wells.
tube wells and diking systems to
Right.
capture the water that they do get from rain. This is the thing I should say is
So no filtration, no chlorine than we're used to.
the water percolating through the soil is the water purification system. So you can see, I mean, imagine that you look at a glass of water and you know that it's safe to drink, or imagine looking at a glass of water that you're not sure it's safe to drink because it might have cholera, it might have arsenic.
Arsenic?
In India, yeah.
And are people used to that, so they've been drinking long enough, or you don't? I mean, it sounds...
As much as you can get used to that.
I mean, people aren't passing away from drinking.
They get cancer, actually. The big problem with
It's just awful.
arsenic in water is in West Bengal, and numbers are around 50 million people.
Wow.
So the numbers are huge, and it's, in that case, this is what we're guarding against, is that in West Bengal they had problems with cholera in the water, surface water, so they dug further down to get clean water, and they got into an underwater source, which was fine, except that it was contaminated with arsenic from the rocks.
My goodness.
And it turns out the way that got in there is from when the tectonic plate of India pushed up against Asia and threw up the Himalayas. It made a crack into the Earth's core and allowed this arsenic-containing rock to get into it.
You see a big team effort, other organizations, countries, people getting
Well,
involved?
yes and no. I mean, it's clearly our colleagues in the Rotary Club in Pune are well aware of this, and they are actually going to be the ones managing on the ground this project. Our role is to provide resources and provide advice in terms of things that will help them pull this off so these folks can lead more or less normal lives.
Well, I am sitting here just amazed at the things I take for granted. And
Turning on the
yeah,
faucet.
yeah, turning on the
Right.
faucet, and I don't mean that in any way as a
Leaving it on when
as
you
a
brush your
joke.
teeth. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, brushing your teeth, all those things that I have had in my life. In the you only have about 30 seconds. Are there anything that our citizens in Montgomery County can do to help your project?
Well, I think we will do fundraisers
Right.
for this. We have other projects that we will do in India also relating to education, actually,
Gotcha.
for young girls. But there's much that needs to be done, and this is a role for the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations,
Right.
and because they have the flexibility to do it.
Right.
And it gives, I think, America a good image in these places.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
able to
thank
go
you very
out,
much,
yeah.
and thank you for your work in this very, very important area. Brett, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Nourish Now. I love that label or whatever it's called. It's very,
Yeah,
very
thank
good.
you.
Tell
Appreciate that.
us about it and how you got it started. And
Sure. So Nourish Now is a food recovery food bank. We recover food from restaurants, caterers, country clubs, hotels, farms, and more. I started it in May 2011. I had a background in the food service industry, and I saw a lot of food going to waste. And it
Just
never,
being thrown out?
Yeah, being thrown out at the end of the night, whether it be breads, bagels, and pastries, or steaks and pizza, whatever it is, food's just getting tossed. So, employees can take what we liked at the time. So much food waste. And so it led me to always really think about it. And just a couple years later, I really did a lot of research. A good friend of mine started a charity called So What Else Can We Do to Help? Dave Silbert and Bob Schless. And I had a chance to volunteer with them and kind of learn about the ins and outs of the nonprofit world and that background that I had of food. I never could stop thinking about the food waste. And then it got me to research hunger in Montgomery County and nationally. And I really just thought, I like what I'm doing in my job, but I'm not passionate. I don't wake up every morning
Right.
and say, this is what I want to do. And so I always wanted to save the world. And I said, what, let me try to do this. And I heard a line, the nonprofit industry is the third largest job creator in the United States.
So how much food do you, not to
Sure,
detract from,
sure.
how much food do you
So we recover
distribute?
over 1,000 pounds of food a day.
Wow.
And that has grown a lot. We're an extremely grassroots organization. It started with myself and a Honda Accord, picking up from Panera Bread.
What year was that, Honda?
The Honda Accord was the 2007.
Okay.
2007. Automatic, though, comfortable, had a good CD
go.
collection. Yeah, they have an iPod at the time. But anyways, so I started out by knocking on doors in lower income neighborhoods and asking people, do you know of anyone in need of food assistance? Because no one was referring families to Nourish Now, because no one knew who Nourish Now was.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah, of
so
course.
You get the food, and then you're driving around just saying, "Hey, who needs?"
Yeah,
some
this is
food?"
in the beginning.
That's-
Yes.
No,
yes.
This is amazing.
Yeah, so I figured if I'm not going to be able to find out on my own through Google and research, I'm going to
Yeah.
go knock on the door.
Yeah.
So it led to Nourish Now's first 150 families. So literally, I would take the food. I got a break at the University of Shady Grove. They allowed me. We love Susan Callahan. They allowed us to share their space. And that allowed Nourish Now to grow. And so we moved into our own location in 2013. And so now we have 2,500 square feet, office side and a food side. And we're working with about 160 restaurants, caterers who are donating a ton of good food. And we're working with Targets and Whole Foods and Aldi's and Occasions Catering and High Point Catering and Simply Fresh Catering. And the list goes on, Mama Lucia's, Cava. So we donate to about 30 families a day that come to our location. And we also donate to about 80, 90 nonprofit organizations. We have a good relationship together.
Yep.
And so we're trying to help organizations throughout Montgomery County to save money on food purchases.
Right.
If we're recovering it, we're just saying, just come to us and pick it up. Don't spend money on bread. We have the bread.
Right.
And so, we've seen that a lot of people are willing to do this. There's a big issue now about labeling. The only thing that the government actually regulates that's a fact is baby formula. You can't go past the date of that.
How do you deal with food allergies and people that
Sure,
want to know
so-
about like GMOs and all
Yeah,
that?
I mean, we
Interesting.
really get to know our clients, and we make specific baskets for any food allergies, for any dietary restrictions, for any religious reasons, and diabetic, anything across the board of really trying to get what the families are looking, what the individuals are looking to serve, and it's exciting to donate. If we were having lunch, having the show, that's what we're donating.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that makes it pretty exciting for us.
So I assume you're connected with organizations like Manna and
Sure.
getting food to the immigrant children in the public schools.
For sure.
And that's every time I think about it, I'm shocked that this is going on in this county.
Well, we waste a lot of food. I mean, isn't it
So
like
much food
20% of our produce is wasted?
Yeah, 40% of all food that is just
How many?
made,
What
40% of all food that is created is wasted.
Oh my.
And 75 billion pounds of fresh food is wasted. It's enough to
75
fill
billion
pounds
pounds.
of
So when
fresh
you
food
talk
is
about people
wasted a
not being
year.
able to turn on a faucet like for water, and we think about how much waste we have of food.
Right. Imagine the water waste that is
Right.
coming
Yeah.
from that.
How
that
much it
food
But we
costs.
still have
waste.
people that are hungry
Exactly.
in this country,
We
in
have
this county.
about we have a little less than a minute. Is there a couple messages that you'd like to tell our audience that they can do to help Nourish Now or
Sure.
to help citizens?
Sure.
in Montgomery?
Please check out nourishnow.org. I want to thank Rotary Club. Rotary Club is a huge contributor to Nourish Now. Really learn about labeling, I think, would be a big thing on an individual and family basis to really
Right.
understand how long things actually last. And then, get involved with Nourish Now. We take volunteers all the time, and
Excellent.
obviously donations are huge. We have a staff of 8. We surpassed 1 million pounds in April, but we need a lot of help,
Yeah.
And so we keep pushing, and we're always trying to get new food donors. And so reach out
Thank
to us
you.
anytime.
I want to thank all of you for joining me this week, and thank you for joining all of us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Fred Evans. Please join us next week at the same time. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.